Hello, everyone, and welcome to the League One preview podcast here on the Lower League Look channel. My name is Sam, and as usual, we are joined by Callum once again. Hello, Callum.
Hello, Sam. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Good. The legs are still hurting. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but my legs recently are just in constant ache.
Is that because you sit like a crab at your desk, or are they just generally painful?
To be fair, I adopt sometimes like I sit in all weird places, but you know we're here for the fun of it. So
So this week's show, we've got a review of Tuesday night's games, as there was around 8 games, I believe, in Sky Bet League One. And the 4 games we have picked this week, Callum will be covering Lincoln versus Stevenage, as well as Carlisle versus Reading. And 2 games I have are Derby versus Port Vale and Portsmouth versus Oxford United. So I think let's get cracking with the midweek games. So first of all, there was a big game at the bottom of the league as Bolton Albion played Carlisle United, and Carlisle actually came out on top, to the surprise of, I think, the whole nation. Still 13 points from safety, though, and Burton still 7 clear after 2 wins on their 5 games. I'm guessing this is going to be a really stupid question. I'm guessing this probably is irrelevant for Carlisle.
Yeah, I think so. Annoyingly, I think I predicted a Carlisle win for the last 2 weeks just because I thought it'd be nice, and it came in the one time they win comes when I can't predict them winning. So I now don't like Carlisle purely based off that that
the Carlisle abuse is now going to begin.
I mean, you saying it was a good match at the bottom of the league. I mean, it was a League Two side versus a League One side, and the League Two side won. So there you go. I think that sums up that game, really.
I think we could argue that Burton are probably a League Two outfit as well.
Yeah, probably.
The next game was Leighton Orient 1, Blackpool 0. Damper on Blackpool's playoff hopes, but the Orient charge up the table still continues. Another team charging up the table, unbeaten in 9, is your Lincoln City, beating the old Shrewsbury Town 3-0. Another game, another goalless draw after scoring 3 away goals last weekend, which was near enough. So they had scored 7 away goals previous to last weekend's game against Reading. And then they're back to their normal selves of scoring 0, but they still are above Cheltenham by 5 points.
Yeah, I think it was the manner in which Lincoln won this game. I think it's the first time they've had an XG of over 4 since like Reading, and it's the first time in the league they've had an XG of over 4, Lincoln, since the League Two promotion winning side.
Okay.
Champion side. So something's clicking there, and it's quite exciting.
Yeah, when we get onto the Lincoln game, I'm sure you can have your discussion about how injuries have massively come back and helped you out.
It's so frustrating. Oh, wait, that's something for later.
The next game was Port Vale 2, Fleetwood 2. Poor old Port Vale. They threw away a 2-0 lead against Fleetwood in a game that's... Now, Darren Moore has conceded 2 goals in every game in charge. And to score 2 goals against Fleetwood, you probably are expecting to win, especially at home. And these are the games, especially this classed as one of their games in hand. They had to win it, and they bottled it, quite frankly.
I mean, it's probably going to be a League Two fixture next year at this rate, isn't it? So
I would expect so. If Port Vale survive, then I expect them to do okay next year, because Darren Moore will clear half of that squad. And vice versa, if they go down, I think Darren Moore will clear house anyway. But whether he's still there or not, it's 3 months into his 5-year contract, he may well decide, I don't fancy living in Stoke anymore, and sodding off.
3 months in Stoke is enough for anyone, isn't it? So,
well, it's the case for Stephen Schumacher as well, isn't it? So it seems to be a Stoke thing. Stevenage beat Cambridge United 1-0. It was a big result for Stevenage after their recent dip in form. They've got some big games coming up, as we will get on to a bit later on. Derby, I'm not sure how this happened, but Derby lost to Charlton 2-1. It's Charlton's first win since November, and it's now 2 defeats in a row for Derby County, who have now played the same number of games as Portsmouth. And it opens up a huge team for Seb's team, Barnsley, who somehow, against all the stats,
if they win their 2 games in hand, go into the automatics, don't they?
Yes.
So,
I'm not sure how they've done it. They've been one of them. Everyone goes on about how stats. I'm a big stats person, as we know, but sometimes the stats mean very little in the grand scheme of things. Barnsley just have got that experience and know-how and quality to just pick up a result from one shot on target and win 1-0.
The wheels just seem to be coming off Derby. I think they've inherited a case of Portsmouthitis.
There's always got to be one team that has Portsmouthitis every year, and this year it is
as well. Well, Bolton as well. So you never know.
Yeah, Derby. Bolton lost 1-0 to Wigan. It's now 2 defeats in a row for Bolton, who now only have the 1 game in hand. So yeah, as I mentioned last week and the week before, I still think Ian Evatt is a little bit out of his depth, regardless of where Bolton are in the league with the players they have. I still firmly believe they should be top of the league and steamrolling everyone. But Wickham beat Cheltenham Town 2-0 in a game which, for Cheltenham, they'd probably have been looking at that game thinking Wickham obviously may have eyes on Wembley, but away from home, it's probably they're not that strong, so they're probably looking at their home games to probably pick up their points.
Yeah, Cheltenham, they need to pick their battles, and I guess that should have been one of them, wasn't it? Obviously, it's 2 late goals for Wickham, but maybe think of it as 1 point lost, I suppose, then nothing gained, I suppose. It's one of them. If you get something that you do.
I think the bad thing for Cheltenham was that actually Charlton went and scored quite late, didn't they? I think it was Alfie May that got the winner. And there was quite some nice scenes, and we may have been wrong about Nathan Jones. He's now unbeaten in 3.
We were the wrong side of that debate, didn't we? I think I definitely said Moore would do all right and Jones would be a shocker, and we've definitely got that the wrong way around.
In the grand scheme of things, maybe a kick up the arse was what the Charlton players actually needed, because he would have gone in and he would have ruffled a few feathers, because he's that kind of fella. He says it how it is, and sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. And for Charlton, it's paying off at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's one of them, isn't it? It was always going to be a roll of the dice at this time in the season. That's what all managerial appointments are, really, at this time of the season. So, I mean, I don't want to say it now because I hate admitting sometimes that you're wrong on these predictions, but maybe I have to apologise to Nathan Jones. Yeah, I always liked you, really.
Well, we don't apologise yet. There is still 12 games of the league to go. They may well go and lose all 12. That would be a Charlton thing to do based on this season.
Yeah, you can see it happening.
So we're on to our first preview game of the evening, and it's Lincoln versus Stevenage. Callum, the stage is yours.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? That this game really, the talk of playoffs has been building around Lincoln recently. A lot of people just saying, it'd be nice. They're happy with the progress they've seen, kind of thing. But this game really, if Lincoln want to push on and get that playoff spot, which is likely, well, I say likely, it's still possible. This has to be the game to do it. This has, no excuses. This has to be the game that they do it. Obviously, you look at Lincoln's current stretch of games, the top of the form table. If you look at the last 6 matches, unbeaten in 9, which is, for a Lincoln fan, is not something we're used to very often. But I think for a lot of Lincoln fans, myself included, the way they performed against Shrewsbury was, arguably it was the performance of midweek. Mm-hmm. The way that they played, obviously, maybe a bit of luck in that last Sorensen goal. I don't know if anyone's seen
just a tad.
But I think it was it's a finish, isn't it? Sometimes they have to go your way. So Lincoln, fun fact, still not conceded a penalty all year. So
really?
this solid defensive performance, and they've still not conceded a penalty all season. They've got 3 wins at home in a row and unbeaten in 5 at home. And they only concede 0.76 goals a game and are having 10 shots a game now, at least, on average around 10 shots a game. So Lincoln, they know how to, that their struggle was attacking. And, you mentioned injuries earlier. They're still a huge concern, don't get me wrong, for a lot of Lincoln fans. Obviously, the news this week, the big one was that Ethan Hamilton's out for the year, out for the rest of the season. With I think it's a knee injury or something like that. He's out for the season anyway. But the unlikely hero of the season could turn out to be Conor McGrandles. Yeah. And if you'd have said that to a Lincoln City fan on deadline day, that Conor McGrandles, the guy who wanted to allegedly go back to Scotland and then sodded off to Charlton, allegedly, because it's since come out that apparently that was just something that Appleton said. It wasn't actually true. It could be that midfield 3 of McGrandles, Arahan, and Bishop is what gets Lincoln over the line. As for Stevenage, they've lost 2 out of the last 5 away. Both sides don't really like possession. Both prefer to play without the ball. Steve Evans probably more famously. But both goals, Stevenage actually score more goals away from home. They've got an XG of 1.53 away. They've actually scored 1.53 goals away from home on average versus an XG of 1.26. So, yeah, I think it's one of them that Steve Evans, the way he plays his football, prefers to be that style, doesn't it? It prefers to be that you let the other team take the game to you. And part of me worries that Lincoln City will feed into that, the way that they've started to play their football recently. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a very tight contest. But if Lincoln City play the way they did in midweek, I can see them getting a result, especially at the LNER at the minute.
Yes, it's interesting what you say on Stevenage, because I went back through a couple of their team selections, and obviously they signed Craig McGillivray in January, and Evans put him straight into the team, and that coincided with a dip in form. The past 2 games, Ashby Hammond has gone back into net, and they've won both games 2-0, 2 clean sheets. And interestingly, their keepers, because I think they've played like 4 or 5 different goalkeepers this season, actually have the lowest saves per match on average. They only average 1.9 saves per match. So, yeah. And like you've said, they've got Stevenage have the 4th best defence in the league, and you've, in terms of XG, have the 23rd best, so the 2nd best XG conceded and the 2nd best defence in the league. So this game, like you say, Lincoln can't fall into the trap of attacking Stevenage, because we know what Stevenage's threat is. They're very good at picking up the second balls. They're one of the best teams at winning possession in the final third, based on, that's probably clearances and chasing the ball down and then picking up a second ball. So like a defensive header, that then they recover the second ball in that final third. But there was an interesting thing on Steve Evans this week, and I'm only bringing this up because a lot of Stevenage fans bit on Wellens getting suspended again last weekend. And I listened to what Wellens said after the Blackpool game and what he got sent off for. And all he did, he held the ball. The ball went out for a throw-in. He held the ball because we wanted to make a substitution. And the Oxford player tried to get the ball off him. And he didn't give him the ball because we were making a substitution. And the 4th official knew we were making the substitution. And the ref sent him off. And then you get all the Stevenage fans coming into the quote tweets saying Evans 0 red cards, Wellens 3 this season. But then we, some Orient fans, quoted criminal conviction, Steve Evans 1, Richie Wellens 0. So
it's funny how those things go, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the thing is, if you look at the form table, like I mentioned earlier, Lincoln obviously 16 points off the last 6 games. But the thing, form tables, if you look at them, especially recently, you have to look at their opponents' points per game. Lincoln's opponents, are quite low down. They've only got a points per game of 1.08 of Lincoln's opponents. But then if you compare it to Stevenage, who sit 15th in the form table, their opponents have got a points per game of 1.09. So, practically the same points per games opponents-wise. And Stevenage come into it in a lot worse form. But like you say, it's will Steve Evans just play into that Skabala trap? As much as I love Skabala now, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because only 2 months ago I was
you're calling for his head.
Yeah. So I don't know whether it'll be a Skabala with his not lack of experience, but comparative experience to a Steve Evans side. Whether that plays into factor or not. But the stat that sticks out to me is that Stevenage haven't scored a second half goal away from home since Port Vale 4 games ago. So quite a niche stat, but I think it's one of them that if Stevenage don't get that, not early goal, but don't get that foothold in a game away from home, they really struggle, especially away from home.
Yeah, I think it's because naturally the home team, especially in the first half, wants to get on that front foot, don't they? And in the second half, if they're drawing, for example, it's a bit more impetus on, right, let's not push everything forward. And if we draw, brilliant. If we lose, then it's a disaster. So it's probably more of a mindset as well. I think still there is that stigma of it's just Stevenage still, regardless of where they are in the table. And it's the same with other clubs like it's just Bolton, it's just Port Vale. And there is that little bit of stigma. But for Lincoln, again, they've been pretty consistent with their finishes the past 3 or 4 years, but they're still not that Bolton, the Portsmouth stature. So there's probably that stigma around Lincoln as well. So,
what score prediction have you gone for?
I have gone for, let me open my spreadsheet up. I have gone for a 1-1 draw in this one.
Part of me wants to predict a Stevenage win and hope that reverse psychology plays a part. I'm hoping Lincoln get a 2-0 win. Is what my heart is saying, but I think my head will go with a 1-0 Stevenage.
Steve Evans snatch and grab from probably a Piergiani header.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is like overthinking, but my hope is that if I predict Stevenage to win, reverse psychology plays a part. I don't know. That might not happen, but yeah. And just finally on that Ethan Hamilton situation, obviously we all know he's out, and I'm not going to say that it isn't a huge loss, but we've seen him out for the last 2-3 weeks, and Lincoln have barely missed him. We said that performance midweek was one of the best of the season for Lincoln, and Hamilton didn't play a part in that. And I'm not saying he's not a good player, because Hamilton is. Any side would miss a player of his standing in that team, but we've not seen the performances drop off like a lot of people would expect. So maybe it's not the end of the world.
No, it's one of them things for like us teams with smaller squads, isn't it? We don't have the budgets of Bolton's, Portsmouth. We can't swap. Like Portsmouth today signed Lee Evans. Obviously, they've got a couple of midfielders in Joe Morrell, I think it is, out for the season. So they'll just pop into the transfer market, get a player on a contract to the end of the season. And he's he's a different type of midfielder, but he's just as good.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things, isn't it? And if you were interested in last week's predictions,
I'm not. I'm really
you
not.
won't be, because you got. To be fair, you got one correct score, which was the Lincoln game. I got 3 correct scores: the Lincoln game, the Wigan result, and funnily enough, I got the Orient one correct. And that majorly annoyed me, because before the game, I opened my bet slip up. I usually do this like £1 on an Orient game. And I put Orient to win 2-1, Ollie O'Neill to score first, George Monker, last Orient goal scorer, and over like 9 corners in the game. And it was like 85-1 or something like that. And I sat there and I cleared my bet slip. I didn't put it on because I bottled it, and all of it happened. So I wasn't best pleased. I was pleased, but very angry with myself after the game.
I was just fiddling about with the form table, looking at the last 10 and the last 12 matches. Do you know who's top of it?
I think it's us, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Orient. top 10 and last 10 and last 12 games. Orient top.
I think we're top from the turn of the year. We averaged 2.28 points per game since the turn of the year.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Which, based on the past 6 years in League One, if we carried on at that rate, we'd finish 6th.
That's all right then, isn't it?
But we've got them big games. We've got you. We've got to play Peterborough. We've got to play Derby. Got to play Posh. So we've got to play Stevenage in a couple of weeks. So it's that part. It's crunch time, and it's the best part of the season, I think. So especially if you're playing for something. If you're a club like Northampton, who are just kind of there at the moment.
Well, the thing you say Northampton are just there. They've got a game in hand on Lincoln, and if we're saying that Lincoln are potentially playoff chasers, if Northampton win the game in hand, they're on exactly the same points.
I think the difference with yourselves and Northampton is Northampton concede too many goals. I reckon you could grind out a result where I don't see that with Northampton.
Little old Lincoln, eh?
So the next game is Derby County, an out-of-form Derby County versus a poor Port Vale. So Derby have, as we've mentioned, have 2 defeats in 2, which has made the top of the league incredibly interesting for us neutral fans looking out from the outside. With Barnsley's impressive form and Bolton failing to be any sort of consistent team as well, has narrowed the gap at the top. But Derby also, so their game, I think they played Stevenage and they won 1-0. And I've watched clips from that game, and Derby were again subpar. So it's 3 really poor performances for Derby. And I still personally believe they should be better defensively. I know they've conceded they are best in terms of XG conceded, but some of the goals they concede are really, really poor for the quality they have. They're really low XG goals. And I don't know if it's a case of their midfield doesn't push high enough. And a lot of them are from wide areas. They played Cashing at fullback against Charlton in a back 4. I'm pretty sure it was a 5 when they were defending, but you played him as a left-sided centre-half, and the geezer can't run. He is like a London bus.
Yeah, Cashing, we saw him against Lincoln, didn't we?
Yeah, he can't run.
He just can't run when he's dealt any sort of pace. So why would you chuck him as a wing back?
No.
Well,
so they've got XG conceded. They're the best in the league, but they're 3rd for the defensive records. For me, you've got Sonny Bradley, who got promoted to the Premier League last year. You've got Ryan Nyambe. You've got Cashin, who's been touted to move to the Premier League. You've got Craig Forsyth as well. You haven't got Richard Keogh anymore, so there's no real excuse for conceding low XG goals anymore.
I'm just looking at the Dominic Dietrich, who covers it for Radio Derby. They have got a lot of injury issues at the minute,
especially in the forward line. Yeah.
Nyambe's off. He's off on the sidelines after hobbling off on Tuesday. Connor Washington out for 3 weeks. I know it was scheduled. It might have been until the end of the season. He's out for a while. Craig Forsyth has been out for a while, but he's on the way back, but he's been out for a while. And then also James Collins. Of course, obviously we know they brought in Dwight Gale, but James Collins has been out for a while, so they are struggling with injuries, and maybe that's caught up to them.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be a bit more expansive because I know they've got injuries in attackingly, but we know they've got quality, especially going out wide. They've got Barkhues and Blackett Taylor, Mendes Lang, Louis Sibley, Hourahan. I would just like to see Derby be a bit more expansive, personally. It's all well and good having this. Yeah. I know they've scored loads of goals. I think they've scored 57, is it? So they've scored 60 this year, which is it's the second best in the league. But in terms of their XG, I just think, come on, give us a bit more.
Yeah.
Just be a bit more explosive in the final third. They average one of the highest crosses per game, along with Port Vale. Derby average nearly 6 crosses a game, which is, I suppose, pretty obvious when you've got James Collins when you had James Collins leaving your line for half a season. But that has to change because Dwight Gale's that not type of striker. And you're trying to now adapt the way you play in a crunch time of the season but they do have the quality to do that because they can play through. Hurahan, we know, and Bird can both play through the thirds very easily. Mendes Lang can beat a defender, a fullback. Barkhusen can beat a fullback. Blackett Taylor can beat a fullback. And Dwight Gale is that on the last shoulder striker. And I think if Derby were a bit more through the passing through the thirds rather than lots of diagonals out wide to get crosses into the box, which won't help Dwight Gale, I think they'd score more goals than they'd be the top scorers in the league. Let's put it that way.
I mean, if you compare it to Portsmouth, I think what I've always thought is that it was Portsmouth's arrogance that was their downfall a lot of the time, and this year we've kind of seen it work. Do you think that Derby were maybe a side that I mean, it's Derby County, that they're a Premier League side. They're a size of club. You'd argue they're a Premier League size club. They're certainly a they're a really big name in football, like we've seen with Portsmouth. Do you just think they've not got the arrogance to carry it through to the end of the season? Because sometimes you kind of need that arrogance.
Yeah, there's a difference, obviously, between being arrogant and being confident, but they should have that little bit of arrogance about them because they are that good, and they should go into every game believing they can smack a team for 4 or 5. We don't see that very regularly with Derby, to be honest.
But they should be doing that, shouldn't they, really?
Yeah, with the quality Derby County have, I know, like you said, they've got lots of injuries, but they've still got quality in the final third. A lot of quality. You've still got Ebu Adams, who's a very, very good defensive midfielder. You've got Louis Sibley. You've got Conor Hurahan. You've got Max Bird. You've got Kane Wilson, who I thought was one of the best fullbacks in a league a couple of years ago. You've got Mendes Lang. You've got Barkhusen. You've got Blackett Taylor. And I think Tyrese John Jules was injured, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with that one.
So obviously, looking at their previous performance, we say smack them. Obviously, they had that performance away at Exeter where they smacked them, but any side can do that on the day.
Yeah.
The last time they did it, and they did it twice in a row, granted, one was in the EFL Trophy, was against Fleetwood Town in the EFL Trophy, and then Leyton Orient, who they smashed 3-0. But that was the last time. I mean, you know more, but that was the last time they at least on the scoreline, smashed a team.
Yeah, and in that game, that was... I look when Derby came, you're thinking, right, let's have a look at their team, and you think, oh, shit, we're going to concede 4 or 5. And the first 40 minutes, up until the red card we got, I thought they're not anything special. They're too passive, too slow. And then obviously with 10 minutes, with the quality they do possess, it's very difficult to actually get anything from the game. Derby did win the fixture between the sides 1-0 earlier in the season. But Port Vale, interestingly, did win a Pride Park last season. So whether that plays in a mental part to the game.
I mean, Port Vale are bottom of all the form. They're surprisingly, with that win for Carlisle United, even going from the last 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12 games, Port Vale are ranked worse in form than Carlisle.
Oh dear, that's when you know you're shit. Really,
yeah.
That is when you know you are crap.
Shocking, isn't it? And it's not like their opponents have even been good. Their average points per game has been 1.32. Leyton Orient's average points per game opponents have been 1.34. So, Carlisle United's opponents have had an average points per game of 1.41. So they've had an easy run of it, and they're still bottom of the form table. So,
if you go through Port Vale's squad, you've probably got 2 or 3 League One, in my opinion, quality players. You've got Jensen Weir, who's on loan. Ben Garrity and Ethan Chislett are probably the 3 I would definitely say are League One quality. You could make an argument, I suppose, for James Wilson and Gavin Massey. But other than that, I think it's a League 2 squad.
Yeah.
Personally.
You just wonder whether... I mean, obviously, you don't know how long he'll be there for Darren Moore. You'd like to think that he's aware of the challenge he's got, and at the end of the day, for some people, a job's a job in Football Manager, isn't it? At least your name's out there if you're managing a club, but you do wonder why why
he's taking it.
Darren, why he took it. What has he seen in there that's got any sort of ambition?
Yeah, but, I can't, like, obviously that losing our blaster and Divine in January was a massive blow to them. Because it was weird for Port Vale, wasn't it? Because they got smacked on the first day of the season, and then they hit this really good run of form miraculously, and then they had about 10 games, didn't they, where they were like, oh, they're not a bad little team, and then they've just been poor.
You if you were Derby, you really couldn't ask for a better game to sort your season out. I don't 100%. Think so. We say it's been a while since they smacked a team other than Exeter. This is going to be a 3-0 one. If I think 3-0. I think it does have the potential to be a cricket scoreline for Derby if they get it right. It's just if they get it right.
Yeah. I've gone for 2-0 Derby, just purely because I think that's what Derby do. I don't think they look to smash teams. When as tight as the league is, goal difference is going to be worth an extra point.
Yeah. I completely get that, yeah.
Right, so we're going to take a quick break now, and then we'll come back to our next two games. And welcome back to the preview show here on the Lower League Look channel. So before the break, we spoke about Derby versus Port Vale, and now we're going to Carlisle versus Reading. Callum.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this one. Carlisle, 1 win in 9 games, and I now don't like them for winning on a week that I predicted them not to. But they are they're destined for League Two. I think for them it's all about trying to gain a little bit of respect. I think they've only kept a clean sheet in 6% of games, which is shocking.
Yeah,
and they continually underperform their XG, which obviously some sides have to underperform XG, but if you're always doing it, it's not great, is it? Reading, their recent good form's been slightly halted in recent weeks. It's not been great for them, and obviously they've got that. I think, was it earlier this week or last week they had an extra points deduction? I can't remember.
Yeah, they got another 2,
which never great, and obviously that pushes them from I think that they would have been 16th down to 20th. So they do need a good win to put that distance again between them. But games with Reading, this is my favourite fact of the pod. Tend to have a lot of goals.
Yes.
They have an average goal a game of nearly 3. So if you're betting on your over 2.5 goals a game, obviously bet responsibly. But Reading would probably be a safe bet. But Reading's away form isn't great. They've lost over half of their away games, 59.6% of their away games they've lost. So it could be a lot tighter than a lot of people are expecting. But you'd imagine a club with, I'm not going to say the swagger of Reading, but going to Carlisle, it's one of them that you look on paper 5 years ago. If you'd have said that this would have been, even 10 years ago when Reading were in the Prem, was it 10 years ago Reading were in the Prem?
So around then, yeah.
Around then. If you'd have said that it would have been a League One game 10 years ago, you'd have gone, what the fuck has gone wrong? So, yeah, I can see Reading trying to play their football, get the ball on the ground and try and pass around them. A training match style, whether that pays off for them. You could get caught out, and we could be seeing the greatest of Great Escape starting from Carlisle. But I wouldn't put money on it.
if Paul Simpson somehow keeps them up, then build him a statue in the middle of the centre circle and just have it all season.
There's more than that. I can name the ground after him straight away. So no, I can see it not getting ugly. I don't think it'll be a humiliating defeat for Carlisle United, and obviously, I do quite like the fact that they won a game. As much as I hate them for it, that I didn't predict. But I can see Reading probably having the better of the two sides here. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I've gone for a 2-1 Reading. I just think Reading have got that bit of quality that Carlisle don't have, especially in the final third. Like you've got Femi Aziz, you've got Sam Smith, you've got Harvey Nibbs, you've got some geezer's name called Kevin, who I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to try. You've got Charlie Savage. You've got Lewis Wing, who scored that Beckham-esque goal last weekend. Reading do have quality, and their owner just needs to fuck off, quite frankly. It's ruining a really reputable football club. Obviously, they had a really big last weekend. I'm pretty sure they sold out for their game against Shrewsbury as well, and they watched Shrewsbury score three goals. So yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm loving my form table at the minute. If you look at the last 4 home games, Carlisle bottom of the form table. But if you look at the last 4 away games, Reading is 16th. Can you tell? I found a new favourite stats website this week. But if you look at the overall form table, another form table stat.
Form table.
Reading are in 7th versus Carlisle United's 23rd. So
massive 3 points for them.
It's better than Port Vale's 2. So look at it both ways. I'll probably go with a 2-0 Reading win. 2-0 I imagine. Yeah.
I've just realised I said it was Lewis Wing that scored the Beckham-esque goal. I've done Shrewsbury a massive disservice. It was actually them, wasn't it, that scored that Beckham-esque corner goal.
Look at you taking away any credit to Shrewsbury.
Yeah, I know.
It's very unlike you, isn't it?
I know. I've got something very positive to say about Shrewsbury. I saw a demographic of one of the best places to live in the country, and Shrewsbury were in the top 3. So there is your positive Shrewsbury news of the week.
Can we please make that a regular feature? Sam says something good about Shrewsbury to win back his reputation. We should do that.
We're going to have a little segment now. Someone needs to create a graphic.
Can we have a jingle?
Yeah, we need a jingle. And we need one for Burton for you as well.
Look, I'm on a character. Nice beer. There you go. That's the only thing. That's the only positive I'm saying.
We both said something positive.
Coop Square is nice. There you go.
There we go. We've made the people of Shrewsbury and Burton happy this week. The reverse fixture, Reading won 5-1 earlier in the season, if that's anything to go by as well. So,
but to be fair though, like I said, anyone can probably do that on their day. It can be Carlisle. I'm pretty sure some Sunday League teams, if they wanted to, at points this season, could beat Carlisle 5-1.
Not our one.
No, maybe not. But I'm, some teams could. So again, definitely not my one because I haven't played football in gosh knows how long. But yeah, it could get nasty. But we'll go with a 2-0.
Yeah, that could be. I think that'll be the day we finally get rid of Carlisle because they're doomed. And it could be a big win for Reading just in the grand scheme of it trying to get a feel-good back around. It could work a bit like Everton's point deduction because obviously Everton got 10, then won like 4 in a row, got rid of the points deduction extremely quickly, and then haven't won in 9. So, yeah.
Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Take away 2 points, but that inspires them to get maybe 6 more than they would have done.
Yeah, sometimes it just galvanises the whole club. And to be fair, Reading's form since the turn of the year has been pretty good. Since November, actually, has been pretty good. So I think they've only lost a total of 4 since November. So they're not a team.
Side, are they?
No, they're not. They're not a bad. On their day, they are a very good team. But they're just because they're so young, and if they get an injury, then that experienced player like Sam Smith comes out. They haven't got someone who's the same sort of ability just to slot into the team. And that's all because of one man who needs to swiftly fuck off, quite frankly.
It's valid. Yeah, it's a very valid statement.
Yeah. So if Mike Ashley wants to drop his helicopter in the Reading Stadium and buy the football club, please do.
I can't believe we're in a situation where we want Mike Ashley to own a football
club. I know.
But
at least the players and the hard-working staff, like the people in the ticketing office, literally the media staff, the people that people forget about, like the media staff, the ticketing people.
Yeah, it's their jobs, isn't it? So
yeah, it's people's houses and mortgages, and how I just can't understand how a human being can do that and feel like he's achieving something with his life, but he probably doesn't care. He's probably in China somewhere.
Yeah, it's one of them. A lot of the, all he cares about when he looks at the spreadsheet is whether it's in black or whether it's in red.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it tends to be, at this level of football, a lot of time it's in the red. And some people, you look at it at a human level, understandably, if he only sees red, if he sees that he's losing money, he panics, which, at a human level, you can kind of understand, but then you have to add in the human element of, well, you're fucking over other people.
Yeah.
You have to consider that, and then there becomes no excuse. So don't think I'm trying to at all justify what he's doing to that club. I think it's abhorrent, but...
Yeah, they've had a couple of dodgy owners in a row now, haven't they, as well? And their current owner has a reputation of making clubs go bankrupt, so...
it's one of them. You find you get one bad owner, and then you panic and get another one in, and then it turns out the devil you know than the devil you don't, I suppose, sometimes. But we'll let's hope that Reading sort themselves out.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that will be keeping them in or staying in League One. It just makes them a bit more of an attractive proposition to anyone
100%.
looking to buy them. So
100%.
Looking to a club who has got better fortunes in Portsmouth. They play Oxford United this weekend. Portsmouth are currently unbeaten in 8. While they're away form, they don't smash anyone. They win by the odd goal. It's at home where they are like a tiger. They maul people. They've got the second best home record in the league with 11 wins, 4 draws and 2 losses. They've got the 5th most goals in the league. They've got the joint best defence in the league in terms of goals conceded per match. They have the highest average possession, the second highest XG, and the second most touches in the opposition box. And when you've got strikers like Colby Bishop, Paddy Lane, Callum Lang, all around the box, you're going to score goals. And obviously the signing of Lee Evans to bolster their experience, to get them over the line and obviously winning promotion with Ipswich last season can only be a good thing. Even just in the dressing room, if he doesn't play, a dressing room player sometimes is all you need. That promotion head on him can only be a good thing, because I don't think many of them players in that Portsmouth squad have actually had a promotion to their name. So it's just that level-headedness that Lee Evans brings, and I'm pretty sure he got out of the league with Wigan as well, so he's got a couple of promotions from this level. And on his day is a very, very good midfielder, to be honest, a very good passer of the ball, and is a more than valiant replacement for Joe Morrell, really.
A lot of the time at this level, it's about the consistency of your scorers. If you can have that, use Lincoln as an example. We really struggled when we didn't have the presence of Ben House up top.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing for Portsmouth, isn't it? Well, for any team, that if you have that consistency of striker who knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, like we've seen with Bishop and Paddy Lane, and to an extent Callum Lang as well, since he's come in. He's been a solid performer for them. It's that it's almost like that inevitability. We talk about the arrogance sometimes of Derby that Derby should have had, and we say they win by the odd goal away, but sometimes that's what they set out to do.
Yeah.
I remember you said that you were not blown away by their performances or something away from home. Obviously, I know it's a little bit irrelevant considering they are at home, but it's that inevitability, knowing that we have the quality at home or away, to find that breakthrough, and I think that's what, I hate to say it, but might win them the league this year finally.
Yeah, and I think we're at that point in the season with 11 games for them left. Performances don't matter now. At the start of the season, I always believe that performances mean more than results, just purely because your results will catch up with you. Where we're now at the point in the season where they've already had the really good performances to get them into this position, and they've got the stats to back that up.
Yeah.
It's just about winning. It doesn't matter if it hits somebody's arse and they win 1-0 through that with 0.4 XG or whatever it is to somebody's 3. It doesn't matter.
3 points. Yeah.
3 points at 3 points is this point in the season. And 3 points is what Oxford United desperately need. 2 wins in 10 for Oxford, who sit 8th in the away form with 8 wins, 3 draws and 6 losses. And I went to the game last week at Oxford, and I don't think I've ever seen a team with the amount of quality, especially in the middle of the pitch that Oxford have, that are so in disarray, absolute disarray. They're 11th in XG. They're mid-table for clean sheets. They're average 9th in possession, but a lot of their possession doesn't seem to really go anywhere. And when you've got a player like Cameron Brannigan in your team, if you mark him out of the game, it's very difficult for Oxford to get a foothold. And the form of Greg Lear at fullback has been a big, big worry because he was a big part of how successful Oxford were at the start of the season. He obviously then got quite a big injury. He's not come back the same player. And I think another thing about Oxford, they're the second best in terms of yellow cards. And for me,
that's not a good thing.
No, they don't break up the game enough. Like if teams are hitting on the break, they let you run past them. You need to be a bit more nasty, I think, to actually be near the top of the league. It's not be nasty in the sense of, just snap everyone and get silly red cards. But you need to have that more game management side to your game, which I don't think Oxford really have. And I think that stems a little bit from the manager as well, not being that experienced. And I remember when I can use us as an example because I've seen it when Wellens come in, our game management under him is exceptional because he was like that as a player. He has that little bit of nous in him.
They're really coasting off their early season form,
100%. Yeah. 100%.
And you look at the form, I mean, guess what? Another form table star.
We're going to be sponsored by one of these form tables one week.
Very soon. But them, last 12 games, they're 18th, I think.
Yeah.
How can you expect to, if over a 12-game period at any point in the season, you're 18th in the form table? That's over a quarter of your season and you're 18th. Yeah. How can you at all expect to maintain a promotion push on that? It's beyond me, I think.
Yeah, they've also overachieved their XG by the most in the league. They've overachieved it by 15.6. So that's obviously not sustainable either. In terms of their goals conceded, they've got minus 6.2 on that. So they're not doing too badly on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I'm happy we ended up with Scapala, but considering when the odds were suspended, everyone thought it was going to be Des Buckingham, and to see what. You compare what's happened at Lincoln City and Oxford United. They've both got new managers at roughly the same points of the season. Well, it was pretty much exactly the same point. And, Oxford United are ahead of Lincoln City in the table still. But you just look at the atmosphere around both clubs, the way that both teams are playing, you'd definitely rather be in Lincoln City's shoes.
100%.
But this is interesting, which of them, say it's them 5 teams, 6 teams from Peterborough through to Lincoln City, which of those teams would you rather be?
I think out of us, you'd rather be us or
Orient.
Lincoln. Yeah. I think you'd rather be Orient or Lincoln. There's no pressure on you at all.
You'd rather be chasing, wouldn't you? You'd rather be chasing and knowing that if you fail, there's not really any consequence.
And there's no real... The thing is with the clubs that are... Other than Stevenage, the teams in the playoffs and in and around, so Oxford and Blackpool, there's the expectation of you to finish in the top 6, where Stevenage, Orient and Lincoln, there's no expectation on us to do...
I still think there's some expectation around Stevenage. Now I think there is, because the way that Steve Evans has spoken this whole year is that we're going to play this way regardless, because we know it gets a result, and I don't care if you're bored to death. I don't care if you hate the way we do it. We're going to win a football game. And if that all of a sudden doesn't win them a football game and gets them to where Steve Evans expects that style of football to, he's going to look like a right plonker more than he already does half the time.
Yeah.
So... And I still think there's some expectation. There's more expectation definitely on Stevenage now than Orient and City.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, back to the game at hand, Oxford versus Portsmouth.
Yeah. I've got 2-0 to Portsmouth in this game. I just think Portsmouth are very, very strong at home. Oxford, I just think are a bit passive, to be honest.
I might regret this, but I'm going to go for a 4-1.
If that happens, then I'll buy you a dairy milk bar.
Can I have the? Have you seen they've got a cream egg one now?
No, I've not seen that. I'll get you a cream egg dairy milk.
I went to unnamed supermarket here. Please sponsor us, B&M. Subtle. I think they had. Obviously they do mini egg ones, but apparently they do cream egg dairy milk bars now. So there you go.
You can have one of them. If 4-1 happens, you can have one. I'll buy you one of them.
I've never wanted Portsmouth to win. Never wanted it this much.
Right, so now we're on to the quick fire remaining 8 Sky Bet League One matches.
I'll refrain from form table.
No form tables. I have 2 sentences here that I'm going to read out, and you can make your decision if you have not already on the teams. So we've got Bolton Wanderers versus Cambridge United. Bolton 2 defeats in a row. Bolton won the reverse fixture 2-1. Bolton sit 3rd in terms of home form, and Cambridge United sit 20th in away form and have lost 4 of their last 5 away and still don't have a manager.
2-0.
Yeah, that's what I've gone for. So that's the same. That's
goodness sake.
The next one is Cheltenham Town versus Burton Albion, which was very, very close to being included in the 4 games. But I'm pretty sure we covered Cheltenham last week, so we left them out. Burton are currently 16th in away form, Cheltenham 20th for home form. It's the first time they've actually played each other this season. They play each other again in April. And in terms of the relegation scrap, this game I think means more to Cheltenham than it does Burton. Cheltenham have one game in hand over Burton. And I just think this is absolutely massive. Cheltenham want to stay up, and I've backed Cheltenham to stay up all season long since Darryl Clark come in. They need to win, but I have put a 1-1 draw.
Without referring to specific form table guys, Cheltenham are very good at home. So I'm going to go with a 2-0.
2-0, okie dokie. I hope that does happen. I really hope that happens.
Without referring to any form table guys whatsoever.
The next one is Fleetwood Town versus Wigan Athletic. The Fleetwood bubble is well and truly burst, even after an impressive comeback against Port Vale in the week. They have no win in 5. The previous fixture, Wigan won 3-0. Fleetwood have the worst home form in the league, but Wigan's away form ain't up to much either, of sitting 21st in the form table away from home. But they are unbeaten in their last 3 away from home.
This is such a boring game. This is one of them games that at this point in the season, who cares? Fleetwood are getting relegated. Wigan are doing nothing for the rest of the season. 1-1.
1-1. Everyone's happy.
Have a pint, have a plate of chips and go home. 1-1.
I wonder if the fish and chips is any good in Fleetwood. It is by the seaside.
It bloody best be. You don't mind.
That's
what this game is for. It's for fish and chips. What have you gone for this one?
I didn't actually say. I went for 1-0 to Wigan.
Yeah, it's just such a boring
needless.
game.
We'll swiftly get that one out of the way.
Just who cares?
The next one is Leyton Orient versus Bristol Rovers. Orient, as we said, are the most informed team this year in League One. They're 5 points off the playoffs, but our squad is heavily limited at the moment. And we did sign a centre-half this week. I don't particularly want to get into that discussion because of his history and the controversy around it. But he is banned for 6 games still. Bristol Rovers have 2 wins in 5. And I think preparing for next season with an overhaul in their recruitment and structure in the week with George Friend going into the director of football role. I have gone for a 2-1 Orient win just because I think we've got more to play for than Bristol Rovers.
I'm hearing some excuses hit the table. So do you know what? Bristol Rovers are one of them teams, right, that just exist.
Poor Bristol Rovers.
Occasionally they just do something. Most weeks they do nothing. But occasionally they do something and you're just like, why do you exist? Like when not when it doesn't happen to you, you're just like, okay, solid trip out. We beat Bristol Rovers, grand. But occasionally they're just there and they're just like, do you know what? We're gonna be a pain in your arse. I can see that happening this week. I don't know why. I can see it happening. It's got nothing to do with form tables because I'm not even looking at it. So I'm going to go 1-0 Bristol Rovers.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
It's not a bad prediction.
And it's not tainted at all by my bias that I really want Lincoln City to go above Leighton Orient with the results this weekend.
Well, when we played Bristol Rovers earlier in the season, it was 1-0 until like the 95th minute when we scored. And they're very good at breaking up play and stuff like that. And Matt Taylor I think Matt Taylor was a very, very good manager at this level.
They're just annoying.
They are annoying.
I
really like their kit.
I don't mean that. And I don't mean that in an offensive way, by the way, Bristol Rovers. Although you'll probably take it in that way, and sure. But yeah, they're annoying, and it's going to be an annoying 1-0.
Okay. The next one is Northampton Town versus Charlton. And Northampton have 1 defeat in their last 5 at home. They are mid-table in terms of home form. Charlton are 18th away from home with only the 2 wins away, 8 draws and 7 losses. And they are unbeaten in their last 4 away with 3 draws and a win. And obviously coming off the back of a very, very impressive win against Derby County.
I don't know. It's Northampton Town will win 2-1.
Oh, I've gone for the reverse of that.
No, actually, it's Charlton, isn't it? 3-1. Not 3-1 Charlton.
3-1 Charlton. Okay, I've gone for 2-1 Charlton in there.
I've changed my mind there.
Yes.
So there you go.
that means that Northampton are now going to win 2-1, and you're going to look like a clown.
Oh, they are. And I'm going to look stupid. Do I at least get so if that happens, I get half a point, right? Solid.
No.
Good idea.
The next one is Posh versus Exeter City. 8 wins, 4 draws, and 3 defeats for Peterborough at home. They've now got 1 win in their last 5 after 4 successive league defeats. Has put them, you could say, back in the hunt for the top 2. No. Okay. Poor Peterborough. Exeter are 12th in away form. No winning, 3 away. They don't like drawing. They've got 6 wins, 1 draw, and 10 losses, and are the league's joint lowest scorers along with Shrewsbury Town.
Yeah, it's going to be another. Yeah, Peterborough will win this 2-0. And
2-0.
They'll just go home and have a pint, and Exeter fans will wonder why they spent so much money on the petrol.
Or the train ticket in this country.
Probably, yeah. How do you get to Peterborough via Exeter? It's not a direct train. You have to go into London.
Probably get a fly to Gatwick or something, or
you'd have to go Exeter to London and then London to Peterborough, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine many fans, and whoever goes, fair play. Any game that Exeter fans go is a lucky trek for them, so fair play to them.
I'd save you money though this week, people.
Yeah.
What have you gone for this one?
I have gone for 3-0 to Peterborough. So we've got 2 and 3-0, which means Exeter are now going to win.
Yep,
which is brilliant for me and you.
Yeah. Go on, Exeter.
Come on, Exeter.
Always been
Do
a
us
big
all
fan.
a favour.
Always
the next one is Shrewsbury Town versus Blackpool. And I'm praying that Shrewsbury win this weekend. Shrewsbury actually have 7 wins at home, and Blackpool's away form is far from average. And the second half they had on Tuesday was one of the worst I've seen from any team coming to our place this season. Midfield wise, their passing was really poor. Defensively, they're pretty solid, but they created absolutely nothing going forward.
I think it was our commentator, Radio Links. The commentator said Shrewsbury Town were the worst side that Lincoln had played all season. They were really bad. I think we all got a bit carried away with their win in midweek.
100%. Yeah.
Was it midweek? Well, it was last weekend.
Last weekend, yeah.
I think we all got a little bit carried away, and I think they'll struggle. I really think they'll struggle. I think Blackpool will probably edge this 2-1.
You've gone for a Shrewsbury goal.
Yeah, well, the rare things happen,
I've gone for a 1-0 Blackpool win. I've gone for a 1-0 Blackpool win, but we can all pray Shrewsbury Town please.
I'm praying to
Love Orient and Lincoln.
Yeah, I'll put you $5 under the doormat.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll convince you to score a goal.
The final game of our preview will be Wycombe Wanderers versus Barnsley. Wycombe have 2 wins from 5 at home. Barnsley have the 3rd best away from in the league and only 1 defeat away from home. They've got 1 defeat since December the 23rd of Barnsley. But Devante Cole, only 1 goal in 7. But Adam Phillips has really stepped up to the plate with 4 goals in his last 4 games, I believe it is. It's 3 or 4 games. And it's a difficult game to call this because Wycombe are playing for starting places at Wembley, and Barnsley are fighting to get into the top 2. So I've gone for a 2-1 Barnsley win, just because I think Barnsley can do it more consistently than Wycombe.
So Wycombe don't have the best of records. You know, in the last month they've played. I think it's 3 out of the top 6. They've played Stevenage and lost 1-0 away. They played Bolton and lost 2-1 away. Then they played Peterborough and won 5-2 at home. So this fixture, I don't know. With Wycombe at home, they win 5-2 against Peterborough. There's no reason they can't do it against Barnsley. So why not? It would be a very Barnsley thing to lose to Wycombe. So let's go with a 2-0 to Wycombe. Why not? I am washed, aren't I? There we go.
So to quickly summarise before we wrap this show up, Bolton versus Cambridge, we've got 2-2-0. Carlisle versus Reading, we've both gone for a Reading win. Cheltenham versus Burton, I've got a draw. Callum has a Cheltenham win. Derby versus Port Vale, we've both got Derby wins. Fleetwood versus Wigan, I've got a Wigan win. Callum's got a draw. Orient versus Bristol Rovers, I've got an Orient win. Callum has a Bristol Rovers win. Lincoln versus Stevenage, I have a draw. Callum has a Stevenage win. Northampton versus Charlton, we've both got Charlton wins. Posh Exeter, we've both got Posh wins. Pompey versus Oxford, we've both got Pompey to win. Shrewsbury Blackpool, we've both got Blackpool to win. And Wycombe Barnsley, I have a Barnsley win and Callum has a Wycombe win.
An interesting round of fixtures.
Yes, so in terms of the prediction, I am currently sitting on 21 points and you, unfortunately, Mr. Callum, are sitting on 11. So you'll be hoping to make up some ground this week.
Which isn't going to happen. I do it. You know, you've got to do that for engagement, haven't you? Just predict a stupid scoreline, get people to get angry at it, and then
we make enough fans angry as it is without doing that.
So why not do it more?
Well, if you have enjoyed, please give us a 5-star rating on your chosen platform. Send us in your questions and we'll put them at the start of our pod for next week. Make sure you listen to the review show with Seb and Jamie on Monday. And we hope everyone has a good weekend, whatever you're up to. Thank you.